What area are you interested in searching today?
I think I want to get a little bit south of the point last seen, because we know that if he'd gone north, east, or west, he would have hit that road. And so we'll come in on the west side, just north of the crater, and maybe just take a sweep out and around and do a half circle out there and see if we can't come up with something.
So you think go ahead and go all the way around the crater?
No, that would take quite a while. I think if we just get to the northwest side of the crater,
yeah,
in that area.
I was thinking that would take a long time. Yeah, that sounds good.
The crater is an interesting place. It's you're in the middle of the big lava bed, and all of a sudden you get this forested mountainside, basically. No lava, just regular forest floor, timbered. And you climb up and hit the rim, and the trees start getting a little bit smaller. And then you dump down into the crater, and as you work down, it's a perfect bowl. The trees continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller until they just disappear, and there's this round meadow at the bottom of the crater. It's kind of an interesting spot.
It kind of looks like there's two craters there. Is there a smaller crater?
Well, there's there's sort of a double rim around part of the crater, but I'm not aware of another crater, but I haven't been everywhere out there.
Okay. Yeah, just looking at satellite images.
There's a lot of little pits and drops and holes and stuff, but this is a real pronounced crater.
Yeah. We're here at the northwest corner of the big lava bed. Just arrived. We're packing up all our gear, about to head out and begin our search.
65 road comes along here. You can see that spur road is right over there. So you got out toward the crater and you start encountering this series of ridges, kind of mini mountains, before you get to the crater. So I think if we head pretty much east-northeast and get around the base of this and just make a circle and just sweep through that area.
All right. Sounds good.
And that way we know if anything goes wrong, just head west and toward the road. That's kind of our bail bearing.
Okay. I like it.
All right.
Headed up to the left or north of that point, right up there, that rocky point.
It is interesting how quickly you lose the lava lakes. And it's also interesting how shaky and seemingly, for a place that I used to just go run with reckless abandon through, it's kind of weird just tripping and stumbling, and but it sure is beautiful out there. I love it. And every time I go out there, especially in the context of a search, I'm reminded how hard that place is to search and the difficulty in finding really anything. You saw a lot of those little nooks and crannies that we had to search. It's very difficult to get into some of them. Easy to miss even a pretty good sized object out there. It's a great place. It's a place that you really have to pay attention to what you're doing, or it will bite you in the butt.
We've hit some forest here, and it's a lot brushier, gone off. There's a lot of lava underneath, but it's not as hot because there's a little more shade. You also can't see where you're going as easy, although it's pretty easy to track with the sun being out so bright today. I just got some footage, drone footage, and so took some photos so I can scan a bigger area. I don't think that's going to work that well because there's so much trees, but at least I'll be able to scan the open area, and maybe I'll put that online so you guys can help too. John was out wandering through the woods, and I called to see where he was at. I wanted to get a shot with him, but I couldn't hear him, but I think I hear him over there now. Hey, John? Okay. There he is. So we're going to head back towards the car and towards the road and see what we can find on the way back.
The assignments that you go on searches are essentially what they're going to ask you when you get back to SAR base is what's your probability of detection, or POD. And it's usually on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 100. 0 being, yeah, we didn't search anything. We could have walked right over them. And 100% is like searching a parking lot where you're completely certain that the area is covered and the subjects, you would have found them if the subject was in that area. And so it's kind of a semi-objective way to get some subjective information, if you will, from searchers. So that you come back, and we usually give two numbers. One is if they're responsive, maybe we have a 60% POD. And if they're non-responsive, we might have a 20% POD. And what the overhead team does with that information is they'll compile all those numbers in the search areas that they've assigned and determine, they'll typically have a target POD for an area. And if the POD you bring back isn't near that, then that they know that another team or that team goes back out and brings that POD up to their planning levels. It's really difficult to assign, for me, assign something because it is such an unknown thing and it is such a subjective thing. But you want to try and be as accurate as possible because this is how they plan the next operational period, is based on the PODs they get. So for us, a POD out there, I don't know, if he was responsive, 30% where we were, non-responsive, 20, 15, you'd almost have to stumble over him.
It's interesting, there's definite game paths through here.
Yeah.
In place where the animals have bedded down. We've been trying to search here, spread out a little bit so we cover more distance, keep it within eyesight and, well, not eyesight, but where you can see everything in between you. And that's just really difficult to do. I think most of the time that hasn't been what has actually happened here. But it's just, with the terrain, it's kind of impossible. And like I always say, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. But put your best foot forward and see what happens. I don't know what to say about this.
Like you were talking about trying to maintain a search team integrity or a line integrity. is essentially impossible. What we usually do as a strategy for searching that kind of terrain is we'll assign a navigator, and they basically keep the team on course, and then you have two flankers who do what we call meaningful wandering, and it is their job to keep track of the navigator. The navigator's job to keep track of where they're at, and the navigator usually isn't searching. Their main focus is navigation. Mind you, they're not going to step over the body or something, but they just kind of keep going, and the flankers keep moving, and it takes practice, but the navigator, you kind of learn the sort of pace that you need, and then the flankers sort of get into a routine, and they'll be just shifting in and out of vision, basically. And the key for that is the navigator is moving at a constant speed, a pretty slow speed, so that it's easy to predict where they're going to be, because they'll go out of sight or go search one of those ruts out there, those crevices or little caves or collapsed areas, and then they'll have a pretty good sense of where that navigator is going to be and link back up with them and head back out. It's about the most effective way to search landscape like this, and it's a matter of teamwork and hanging in there and continuing to do it. It's frustrating that we haven't come up with anything, but you just have to keep trying. And one of the things that we often rely on if we don't find a subject, which we don't like that at all, we hate unfinished business, is quite often deer or elk hunters will stumble upon them sometime later. The thing here is that there aren't deer or elk hunters out there, so it's unlikely that someone's just going to stumble upon them. And the other thing that we don't want to hear is if a hiker or a hunter or somebody finds something years later or months later, it would be really bad if it was in a search area. And I don't think I've been on any searches where that has happened. But it's something that just gnaws at you when you don't find someone. It's that unfinished business, and it can be very frustrating and challenging, and but you just have to do the best you can and hope at the end of the day the best turns out to be enough.
That was a search. It's a needle in a haystack, and I always talk about how discouraged I am when I finish these, and I am again, but I keep coming back. Anyhow, I'm really grateful to come out here with John, and it's great to have somebody else to search with and somebody that's so knowledgeable, and just great to be out here in the outdoors. It's a beautiful place, and the one thing I've neglected, I think, is just talking about how amazing it is to be out here. And if you just take a few simple steps, there's no reason to worry about being out in the wilderness like this. You can have a perfectly enjoyable, bold, fantastic, amazing time out here.